Hello, people. Andrew here, talking about comics from a reader, collector, speculator, investor point of view, that order of importance to myself. Today I'm continuing on with Legends of the Dark Knight, a series that was released in 1989 by DC Comics, telling stories about Batman that didn't necessarily have to fit into the continuity. It was just different artists and different writers that had a Batman story to tell, and this is where they would tell it. And it could be anywhere. It could be a year one, it could be a year three, it could be a Batman in a different time zone even. But for the most part, it was a solo Batman story written and illustrated by different creative teams. So I've done the first four already, which went up to number 20, and they were all four of those were 5 issue blocks. And now we get into the next series of four. Actually, it's like three and a third I'm going to talk about here. And the first one here is a 3 issue series called Faith, and it's written by Mike W. Barr and illustrated by Bart Sears. Mike Barr has written a lot of Batman material. Bart Sears, I like his stuff enough. I actually took notice of it more so when he was doing some of the Valiant material, even though I think this came before his time working on Valiant. Anyways, he's a capable artist. I don't think either one of these is a standout for me, but they're, as I say, both of them are capable. So, what's this particular 3 issue story about? Well, it's a story that you've probably heard somewhat before. A young man who's, addicted to drugs finds himself in a tough situation, and he gets saved by Batman. And he sees this as an omen, a sign to change his way of life, to sort of adopt some of Batman's philosophies and whatever, at least as he sees them, and start protecting the community and doing good things for the community and hunting down the people that are causing bad things for the community. And all goes well initially. Batman even gives him, hey, here's a thumbs up for you. I like what you're doing. And the story of being a vigilante in this city or in any city raises its head. And that's one of the things I liked about this particular series is that you got a point of view from a number of different people. You got a point of view from Batman, Jim Gordon, Dr. Tompkins, I think her name is, has a take on it, and of course the lead of the Batman cult. And as I say, he's a little different. He doesn't say that I'm going to be a vigilante like Batman. I'm going to dress up in a costume and all that sort of stuff. What he does is he gathers together other young people who are looking for someone or something to show them the way, and teaches them how to fight and how to work as a group, as a vigilante group. Now the story, so that's the story that we've heard before, as somebody inspired by a superhero to become a vigilante. What is the effect on the city? And in a lot of cases, I mean, this is one of those situations where perhaps the vigilantes push it a little too far, but it does raise the question, like, why is it okay for Batman to run around the city because he has what, stronger morals and ethics than somebody else? What happens if he crosses a line? Are we going to allow him to run through the city while he's doing this, knowing that he could be crossing a line at some point in time? So are we lax in our duty as law officials or as even as citizens? So this is the issues that it tackles in this 3 issue block, which was fine. It was, as I say, it was a decent enough read. I did like the artwork by Bart Sears. I think this is one of the better covers that he does here. This is a nice cover, and it was the first 3 issue block, written in 1991, issues number 21 through 23. So the next block, another 3 issue block, and it's called Flyer. Looking forward to this one because it was written by Howard Chaykin and illustrated by Gil Kane. You got Gil Kane covers on all 3 of these, so I'm excited for both of those because I like Howard Chaykin's material and I definitely like Gil Kane's material. And no fault on Gil Kane's material whatsoever. It's great that I got these 3 issues of Gil Kane doing this Batman Flyer story. I'm all for that just because of the artwork alone. And as I say, because of Howard Chaykin, I do like some of his stuff. He's a little sarcastic at times and uses sarcasm in his tales. Sometimes a parody. He tends to point out social flaws and what have you. This is just a very bizarre story. A woman, a Nazi, she was working for the Nazis or whatever, kept herself in good shape or whatever. She's been developing some engineering and chemical things and biological things to create these sort of exo suits. And she uses her son, who has been damaged physically due to a whole horde of bats causing his helicopter to crash. Anyway, she uses him as the guinea pig to use to wear these outfits and then track down Batman. But it's not, I'm not sure that she's necessarily looking to track down Batman as much as she was trying to use the suit and see how far it would go. It was her son that decided to go after Batman to a certain extent, and it's a weird thing because the mother really doesn't like the son too much, but she starts getting infatuated with Batman, and she wants to have sex with him. She wants to have a child with Batman, and sends her son out in more improved armor. Bring me back the Batman so I can have sex with him. And it's like, it's just a very weird type of story that this Nazi woman wants to, have sex with Batman and gets her son to sort of procure Batman. It's an odd story, and it wouldn't really fit in any other Batman type of story. So it fits in well with the Legends of the Dark Knight because you can tell almost any story. But even at some points in time, Batman is just saying, "What the? You're going through all of this trouble for this?" It's just I don't get it. And really, at the end of the whole story, it's like I don't quite get it either. It's an oddball little story, and again, there's little bits of humor, some wordplay going on there as well. But you do get the good Gil Kane artwork, and I appreciate that. So Flyer was just an odd story. The third I'm talking about is this one here. So this is a three-part series called Destroyer, but this is part two. Part one, I think, was in Detective, and part three in Batman, but I'm not sure if it's the other way around. So this is only part two of that series. I don't have the full thing, but from what I've read here, it was pretty good. I mean, the idea of somebody out there destroying the newer buildings in Gotham so that the older buildings would have a chance to shine again. So they were blocked from view by some of these newer structures. And of course, people are dying, unfortunately, in this sort of situation. And so Batman's got to stop this guy, but that's what he's doing it for, as far as I can tell. This is chapter 2 of that. It does include a series of illustrations by Anton Furst, who was the Academy Award winner for art direction for Batman in 1989. So at the end of this book, there's 5 illustrations. This is one of the illustrations. They've just pasted a Batman over top of it, but pretty much this is one of the illustrations detailing Gotham as he sees it, the city itself, which is kind of an interesting look at the city from that point of view. The story was fine, and again, it's one of those questions of beauty is in the eye of the beholder, because some people really like the chrome and steel and glass of newer buildings, while others prefer an older aesthetic, and that's what's happening here. I prefer sometimes the older building, but some older buildings maybe not so much. So there is that question about aesthetics, and it was written fine. Who wrote this one? Oh, Dennis O'Neil and Chris Sprouse did the artwork on the inside. So I can't really say fully what the story's the story, the beginning and the conclusion of it, because this is only part 2. But I did like part 2, and I did like the illustrations in the back. And finally, we get the last one, which is a set called Faces by Matt Wagner. Matt Wagner, you might know from doing Grendel. I really like his artwork. This is kind of his art style that you're looking at here. I look at it as somewhat, more simpler in design, but mood, emotion, tone, atmosphere are created through shading, more so than intricate line work. Interesting, at this time, this was in 1992. 91, 92 that he was doing this. The new artists were all doing heavy line work. Todd McFarlane, Rob Liefeld, Jim Lee. They're the hot new artists that were out on the block, and they did multiple lines. Everything had a ton of lines, whereas this was more of a simpler approach with a lot more shading and toning. And I actually prefer this kind of style of artwork. So the story Faces, obviously you're taking a look at it, this is about Two-Face. So it's a story involving Two-Face. What I liked about this one, other than just the artwork itself, is it's a detective story. Batman has to figure out, Two-Face has escaped Arkham Asylum. What a surprise there! And he's got to figure out what Two-Face's plan is, and uses the clues as to where he's going to be going, and actually does some detective work to figure out what Two-Face's plan is and where he's going to hit next. And I like that detective aspect of this particular book. I also think Matt Wagner had a lot of fun with the motif of two, or like for example, the twins are living on the second story of a building on Second Street, that sort of thing. And he uses it an awful lot in here because Two-Face does, and I like his use of it. He's creative, as I say, with the twins, and the whole thing with the faces. A lot of the people that are targeted, they have two faces or a double life. Like for example, the very first one is that we see is somebody who was at a costume ball wearing a mask, so they have the two faces. There's another one at a theater that puts on the makeup, so there's the face underneath, and then there's the makeup, so they have two faces. So there was a lot of that sort of play within the story itself. And it was a decent story as well. As I say, a good detective story. Interesting characters and an interesting development and artwork. So yeah, I really liked this 3-issue set by Matt Wagner. And then here's the final one here. So that's it. That's the next 4 stories. It's actually, as I say, 3 1/3 from Legends of the Dark Knight. I really liked number 3, Faces, the most, and I would recommend Faces even if you're not into the Legends of the Dark Knight, but you do like a Batman story or a good detective story or Matt Wagner's art. I think it is the best of the 3, and just for reading purposes, I would recommend that one. Even if you just like superheroes as well, or just a good story, it was good enough. It was good for that. The other ones, as I say, Faith, you've sort of heard that story before, and it's done fine. Flyer was just a little offbeat and weird, but you do get the Gil Kane artwork. And Destroyer, it was interesting to see some of the illustrations by Anton Furst at the back, and the story, part 2, seemed to be interesting enough. I'd be interested to read parts 1 and part 3. As far as collectibles. Again, mentioning Matt Wagner and those that follow, certain villains. Two-Face is the only real villain, the Batman canon that shows up here. But as I say, there's the Matt Wagner artwork, which is really fine. You got the Gil Kane artwork and the Flyer, which is interesting. So there's reasons to collect various issues of that. As far as the speculation and investment, I think you can still get all of these books in a dollar bin. I know some places will sell them for more. They'll sell them for $3, $5, $10 a piece, if you will. But I'm pretty sure that if you hunt around enough, you will find copies of this in the dollar bin. Again, this was done in the 90s, 91, 92. They were publishing so many copies of so many comic books that there's a ton of these out there. Anyways, that's it for Legends of the Dark Knight. For now, I'm going to come back and talk about some of the other ones next time I get back here. So are any of these your favorite? Do you like Two-Face? Let me know. All that stuff. And like, comment, subscribe. All that stuff. Anyways, be good to yourself. Be good to others. We'll talk again soon.